noise.
Welcome back to the next part of this Truth and Rhythm episode. Be sure to subscribe to this channel. If you've already done so, please share it with friends. Also become a member by joining Truth and Rhythm on Patreon, or consider donating at funkinstuff.net. Thank you so much for your interest and support. Enjoy. Hey, before we get started with today's show, I just want to draw your attention to new merchandise. Funkin' Stuff and Truth and Rhythm designs are in, and they look pretty darn cool. So show your support, help support the program, and show off some stylish merchandise and apparel. Only at the Funkin' Stuff store. And in the late 60s, you guys went off on your own and launched Invictus and Hot Wax, right? Was that a simultaneous thing, or was one before the other? Or?
One thing led to another, led to another, led to another. So I ended up really getting into a fight with Motown, which I really don't want to go involved. I don't really want to get that deep into it. I got involved. So it is very, very detailed, very technical, and involved. Okay, situation with Motown. That one thing, as they said, led to another. And what that another was is that Capitol Records approached me. Capitol Records approached me. Say, well, I hear there's a problem with Motown, blah, 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 blah. And it's a long, drawn-out thing, and I ended up making a deal with Capitol Records. Myself, not Brian, not Lamont. I ended up doing it based on my ability as an A&R person. In sitting back fighting with Motown, I'm a kind of guy, my mind has to be active, strongly active. So what I did, I said, you know what, if I'm not going to be here, I'm going to plan. It's almost like an imaginary trip. So I started making certain moves, doing certain things, keeping my mind active, because at that time I was not active with Motown. But basically, under the bottom line, I really had no full intentions of leaving. I didn't really believe it would come to that. But one thing led to another. It's like it's like Barney Ailes, the salesperson of Motown, said it was a situation, man, where Muhammad would come to the mountain and the mountain wouldn't come to Muhammad. So you all just end up gradually letting friction pull you further and further apart. So then I end up being in a situation where I had this product and was dealing with this product, wasn't quite finished, nothing like that. But the fact of the matter is, and I had to do something with it eventually. So when Capitol Records called me, said they want to make a deal with it, I made a deal with it. It's just that simple. Well, it ain't that simple, but that's what happened.
You know, I have a sort of a rare album here from Invictus, which is the Osmium first pressing for Parliament. Wanted to share, and I did want to ask you in this interview about George Clinton, because you talked about so many people were interested in Motown. There were a lot of people that came through Motown that didn't hit as big as most of the people that everyone knows. Like I know the Isley Brothers came through there, and George Clinton came through there, and things like that. Is there anything you could share related to, George Clinton, your interactions with him at that time?
Well, I don't know if George Clinton wanted to be with Motown. George Clinton was with the another label. I can't think of Bridgeport or whatever. I can't remember now. George Clinton got with me after I had left. And because of a person like Jeffrey Bowen, is a person who had rounded up a lot of singers and had talked George Clinton into coming with me, chairman of the board. That guy was founded Jeffrey Bowen. Also, the Honeycombs, that was founded by Bill. See, basically, Jeffrey Bowen was the one that got all those groups. He got them because I wanted. He got them because I needed it. And so one thing led to another. Capitol Records signed the deal, boom, 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 put out the records, and the records, for the most part, were hits. Freda Payne's, all that stuff.
Yeah. So how did your lives change in terms of, your songwriting and what you were doing actively, related to those artists or just music in general?
Didn't change. It didn't change. How could it change? I mean, nothing changed. My life, it is what it is. I don't know how to explain. See, I function differently. See, if you look at me like an average creative person, how I function, you're going to misread me because I don't function like an average creative person. First of all, I'm a kind of an individual. I like business, which is what I prefer. I'm a litigious individual. If I believe in something, I will fight. I will do whatever I have to do. I just don't function like that. And yet, and still, I can get creative people and I can set them up and I can tell them, I can look at their product and say, what's wrong? Correct this, correct that. I mean, I can do all of that thing. I'm an A&R type person. So, I don't know how to explain it to you any other way than that. It doesn't change my life. It's all part of my life. It's another facet of my life.
Yeah. Why did Invictus and Hot Wax and that sort of come to a close, that chapter?
Simple, because Capitol Records made a deal that they did not knew was involved. That Capitol Records was not set up for black product. They were not. The record sold, say for instance, Freda Payne's record sold $1.5 million. It took them off guard. It's moved faster than they wanted to do, than they thought it was going to move. When the chairman of the board got give me just a little more time, and that was $1 million seller, it threw them off. They weren't prepared to deal with black product. I had to hire a staff that I was not supposed to hire to handle all the black product. That was a drain on the company. And so one thing led to another. And the fact of the matter is, at that time, I wanted to go to CBS. Capitol Records at that time said, no, we understand what the problem was, Holland. We understand that. And we do not want you to leave because we have been successful with you. And you have amazed us by coming out with many hit records that you've been coming out with. We said it took us off guard. We weren't prepared for it. Okay? What they were trying to do is fulfill a gap. They were losing the Beatles and they were losing 33%. So they wanted somebody really to bring in and to fill the void of that 33%. However they do it. And it just didn't work out. So they let the president of the company go, and they was bringing in another president, an Indian guy by the name of Bhaskar Menon. He told me, please do not leave. I will work the company any way you want me to. I will build it up. We will reconstruct whatever it takes because you have shown us that you can deliver the product. This is what we need. But at this time, I wanted to get with Clyde Davis because I talked to Clyde Davis and wanted to be with CBS Records, which I was going to have made the deal. Clyde Davis untimely ran into a situation where what happened? He went into such a nasty situation with his company that they wanted him out. So it just destroyed everything. It's coming. I mean, it's really involved,
Yeah, yeah. No, you encapsulated it well. I appreciate that, Eddie. Um, and you guys though did go back and do some work with Motown acts later in the '70s.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely. We went back because because they had a deal when they have a deal with production company. But at that time, Motown had no promotion at all. Ronnie Ayers had left. Didn't have the promotion people that they wanted to have, and they weren't prepared either. Which later on it showed that the situation that they'd gone into was negative, because at that time they had left their independent to go with a major company, which was not to their liking. It didn't turn out to be, and it didn't work out for them.
yeah.
Then next one thing led to another, and I don't like talking about it because I know it's probably offensive to Barry Gordy, and I don't want to offend him or say anything offensive about it. But it just didn't work out. It didn't work out.
What was it like working with the Jacksons?
It was good. It's working. It's good. Always good working with the creative people. Always, always good.
Are there some other notable projects that you guys got involved with later in the '70s or '80s that maybe are worth sharing with viewers?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think the biggest project we're working on at this point is the project with the Four Tops, who wants to start a musical that Brian and I are delivering 6 or 7 new songs to. That is the most exciting project in the last 10 or 12 years.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that. It's going to come out in 2022, you think?
Hopefully, but it's going to be a very, very dynamic project. Very involved. Life story and the Four Tops and Duke for Cure. It's really a very, very interesting story. And obviously, they are a very, very successful group that have many, many hit records. And what Brian and I have done is to move the theme, the storyline that moves plays, and to captivate that in a certain song, to move that, because that is so important to any great play. When you really want to know about the person, move the insides more than just hit records. It's about their life and the things that happen while they're on their road to getting where they want to go. That's all very much a part of their life story. So we're working with them in all of that.
Kind of like
to bring about a complete view of the Four Tops and their life story, because they're very interesting guys. To say the least. Luke is the only one that's still here. They're passed on. But the play will encapsulate all of that.
And it'll be a mix of some new songs and their classics.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
I'm thinking, I don't know, maybe it's not the right comparison, but sort of like a Jersey Boys thing of, for Four Tops.
Well, the Jersey Boys is more of a jukebox musical. This is really going to be more than a jukebox. This book is going to cover a lot of involvement with Perry Wilson and as well as relationship with Cure in their early days and other, and it's going to cover a lot of interesting things. They had an interesting life, but let's hope it's successful as the Jersey Boys. I believe it can be, but let's hope it does, because Jersey Boys is a very successful Broadway, very successful. I enjoyed it. I saw it a couple times. I enjoyed it.
Are there a couple of compositions, maybe up to 3 or so, that are just for whatever reason your favorites that you've put together?
A couple of what now?
Of your songs.
Of our songs. Brian has all kind of stuff. Well, I don't know.
I mean, who knows? I mean, like I said, they're all like children to me. I mean, kids to me. I did fall in love with, I hear symphony more so, and then stop, I don't know, Jesus, I don't know, stopping them, I don't know, there's quite a few of them was very good, so I don't know.
Well, one of my favorites is "Love Is Here, Now You're Gone." That's one of my all-time favorites, and Bernard as well as Bernadette. But you know what Brian is probably painfully trying to say. When you worked on those songs as hard as we've worked on them, and they become as successful as the way we imagine them, that's just like having 15, 20, 30, 40 kids and say, which one do you like the most? I mean, it's very, very difficult. It really is, because I've been asked that obviously many, many times, and I like them all. I mean, because it was such a part of my life, and it's a part of my life's experience in many, many ways. And I just, and even just the Motown experience itself is a very important part of my life. That is something that I could never replace it with anything in my life. It was just an intricate part. I don't know. It was just a wonderful experience, and still have it.
Did you guys ever imagine at the time back in the 60s that these songs would stand the test of time like they have?
Absolutely not. Let me tell you something, Scott, before you bring it. You know what, the one thing that I was trying to do while I worked so hard on the songs earlier, even though I was learning, at the same time I was being successful with these songs, all I wanted to do, I said, Brian, if I can write these songs well enough that they could be recorded and get a hit once or twice, I said, I would feel very content that I've done my job. I had no idea that these songs would last this long or have been recorded so many times. I have no idea. You know what, I'm amazed today, so many people have come and talked to me, Scott, and said, well, you know what, I was doing this when I was finishing high school. I was doing this when I was going to college, and this is my song, or this, and this. I mean, and you affected my life, and you did this positive, and they relived their lives. I've heard it so many times, and I listened patiently when they told me. And because at first I thought they were just talking. I said, are they saying this to make me be professional, make me feel good? But they were sincere. I could tell they were sincere the way they talked about it. So, no, I'm surprised at all of this success. I'm surprised that they have lasted this long, and very grateful and very thankful, to say the least. And feel very blessed. Really.
They are cultural, touchstones is what they've become. And they've been remade so many times. I mentioned the intro, but are there any remakes of your songs that like stood out as like, oh man, that is another definitive version?
Well, Brian loved this one by Vanilla Fudge. I love that record. I don't know if you keep me hanging on. I think it was Set Me Free. I can't remember what it was.
But Vanilla Fudge did a great job with the song.
Was it you Set Me Free? Was that?
Yeah, I think it was. When I first heard that, I said, I cannot believe how they took that.
And the
song.
Doobie Brothers doing this thing, Kim Weston did. Take me in your arms. Man, those Doobie Brothers, man, those guys are good.
And listen,
sing, I'm telling you.
And also, Scott, Please Mr. Postman was done by 4 different artists.
More than that, Brian. More than that.
All I remember I remember the girl in the song, the brother and sister.
Oh, I know, yeah.
The Carpenters.
Yeah, right. No. But anyway, a lot of people just redid them songs over and over again. I tell you, it's really great.
I like the Beatles version.
Yeah, right. Of course, they did Soul Bone Records.
Yeah.
Yeah, it must. I can only imagine what a kick it is when you hear one of your songs by somebody that you didn't even
Johnny
know.
Rivers, baby, I need your love.
Oh, yeah, he did a great
He
job.
did a great job on that record. Johnny Rivers
And
man.
Sweet Baby James. did a
Sweet
great
Baby
job.
James, right?
Yeah.
How sweet it is to be loved
Ah,
by you.
Yeah, how sweet. Yeah, how
Yeah,
sweet.
man. He just. I mean, like I said, we've been very fortunate. I mean, really blessed. I mean, man. You know, I pinch myself sometimes. You know, because honestly, goodness, man, we were just some young guys having a lot of fun, trying to make a living.
Yeah.
That's all we were doing, trying to make a living. But the one principle that we followed is what our grandmother taught us. Whatever you do it 110%. You give it all you got. And that's one thing that we always try to do, whatever we dealt with. And the same reason why I would put so many time, so many hours in songs, so many hours learning, you know. And each time when I would do a song, I would have to spend 20 pages or 20, 30 pages sometimes writing and rewriting, trying to make it better, a little bit better. And even when Brian sometimes and Lamont would say sometimes, well, man, don't you ever finish it? I said, yes, almost there. I would have to leave it for 3 days to go back and examine it again. I mean, trying to make it the best that I could make, you know. Even then, I could hear changes that I could make now. But anyway, but the fact of the matter is, I think that's caused us to be fortunate enough to have the songs as successful as they are.
What inspired you to put the book together?
Well, a minister told me years ago now that he said, Ed, have you wrote a book? I said, no. I said, I had no intention of writing it. He said, you better. He said, write a book. He said, because if you don't, somebody will. So there's about 5 years, 6 years, 7 years that passed. And then Shirley Washington kept telling me, you should do a book. You should do a book. You should do a book. And she was driving me crazy, and I was driving her crazy. And I didn't really want to do it. It took me years to do it, but then, you know, through her supporting it and pushing me and making me remember things that I had really forgotten and didn't want to write about. And she said, you got to write about it. It's important. You got to write about it. She said, your brother got to write about this thing, you know, his experience. So that's what brought it all about.
And, you know, how did you feel once it was finished? And, you know, how do you feel of the project now?
Well, I mean, to say this, number one, I need to read the book again. I say that to say this. I know what it says because I lived it. And in putting a book together, when it takes you a couple of years to do it, you end up wanting to go over it again to remember exactly what you said. And for the most part, not that what you said was inconsistent with what the truth is, but you want to add something to it. So now I've come to the point that I'm very, very happy that I did the book. Extremely happy. Okay. But I also know that I have to update it. I have to. Because there's certain things that I left out. In my haste to write it, in my reluctance to fill it out as much as I wanted to say it and be descriptive as I was. And then and I've come to the conclusion that I have to update the book at some point in time. Who knows? You know, maybe 5 years from now, 3 years, who knows? You know? But I think I would like to do that.
It's like your song. It's like your songs. You want to keep messing with the words.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Brian. You were going to say something.
No. He said enough for me.
Okay. I understand there's one story in the book that a lot of people might not know unless they read it, of course, is that you were kidnapped as a baby, I understand?
Oh, yeah, that's something my mother told me about. I was a teenager when she told me that. I don't know that much about it, except what I said in the book,
What you found out?
That found out. I mean, I was kind of surprised, And what that did to me, really, Scott, is this. What happened? I was a teenager when I first started talking to her about. But what really bothered me, even later on, when I wouldn't, you ever hear about? You ever not hear, but you ever experience things that you try to put out of your mind, because the more you think about it, you start getting negative things. So I started getting almost like haunted lady would have never found. My mother would have never found me. What is that lady? And I never would have known my brother. And I never, I had a hard time trying not to think about these things. And I think what happens is that you read about so many people that are kidnapped, never find their parents, or find them 20 years later. So I started consequently putting myself in that position, and it's a horrible feeling, it's a horrible thought, and it just sort of pulls on me, and you sort of block it out. I mean, I went through all this. That's nightmarish type of things, You sort of you want to get away from that stuff, and so I try not to think about it as much as I have already, which is more than I really wanted to, because you have to cut that stuff off. What if this happened? What if this would have happened? Which is all very possible. It's very possible. It's just fortunate that she did. She said, she explained to me how she found me and what happened. She didn't know I was gone. It just, so anyway, it's just one of those things.
Wow.
But that's lucky. I mean, lucky she had found me with what she did, because I think I was only gone for about a couple of days. So that was lucky.
Yeah, I'll say. Could you share with us, before we wrap this up, maybe one or two just unforgettable memories being in a studio at Motown, whether it was something funny that happened or maybe somebody just turned in such a great performance on one of your songs?
Well, it's a lot of them. But I would say to you this, is that if I gather everything and I really think about it, you have to kind of have that out-of-body experience. The only thing that pops into my mind, because I thought about this several times, I'm going to tell you, not that that's not a good question, but I've thought about it several times, but not for the same reason you asked me. And I could always visualize my brother in there with these musicians, operating with these funk brothers in such an expert way that I was fascinated and mesmerized by it, and kept asking myself, how in the hell is he doing that? Where did he get that from? You know what I mean? And I would think, I went on for a long period of time, and especially the times when I remember bass player James Jamerson, which I knew before anyway. James Jamerson, and he was in a sort of a nasty mood, not nasty mood, but he was in a kind of a mood. But it wasn't cheerful. It was a period where the musicians thought they weren't getting their proper, but not respect, but appreciation. But no, it's a little bit different. You can respect a person and still don't appreciate it. It's a little different. It's a big difference, a fine difference. And so Brian was telling him, play some kind of a note. And James Chambers said, you mean like this? Brian said, no. That's not the so-and-so. He said, well, you want this one? And then Brian started talking yelling out the note he wants. I want you to play this over this, play this over this. And it shocked James because Jameson did not believe that any of the other producers could read, have any idea about music. Not that they could read music, but Brian, for some reason, ear is so immaculate, so gifted, so talented of a person. He can remember, he told him no. He told him to fabric something. I can't remember because that's over my head. I don't know anything about anybody. And Jameson was so shocked, and it caused him to have a whole new respect for Brian. Whole new respect. I could see it on his face because he was surprised. I was surprised too, by the way. But it's my brother, so I was more apt to feel surprised. But it's that type of thing. It's that's the biggest thing that I can remember. And I've watched Brian several times in the studio, and how he could call all these musicians. Like he would have. We would use one guitar, and we would stretch it. Sometimes have two guitars. And I remember Brian on one session, I don't know what it was called, 3 guitars. I said, what in the hell can 3 guitar players do? How is he going to get on? And man, he would gel these things in such a way. I said, I don't know how the heck he's doing it. And nobody else did either. I mean, none of the other people they were mesmerized because Brian could take all those instruments and have them working in unison, yet doing different things and sing. I mean, man, it was amazing, amazing. So that's the biggest thing that I think about.
Hey, I want to mention that.
But I tell you what, Bob, I tell you one thing. Let me say that this is not as devastating as interesting as what my brother was doing. But one thing was that on Where Do I Love Go, a lot of people don't really realize that, is that Diana Ross was singing that song, Where I Love Go. And she was not in her best to move that day. I won't go through it. It's in the book, we wrote about it. But that's the only time she's ever had any kind of friction with me at all. She's a lovely person. I respect her greatly. But she was in a mood. And she's saying, Word I Love You. And if you look at the expressions on her face, she would tell her expression said, I don't want to be here. My brother, the engineer at that time, while she was singing, he looked up at me as if to say, I think he indicated, do you want me to stop? And I said, no. Don't stop her. Don't stop her. Don't stop her. Let it go. Let it go. And so she went on and sang the song. And after she got to the end, she said, well, is this what you want? I said, thank you. That's exactly what I want. And that's the take you hear on the record. That's the one that you hear. She was in a whole nother frame of mind, but you can never tell it. Just to go to show you what kind of voice that girl had. Such an angelic, sweet sound that the emotion just come out of it. Effortless. Now that's a unique thing. Most people don't have that. Few people have that. So anyway, that was put out of my mind.
Definitely have to think about that next time listening to it, But I'm sure it just added to the emotion and the, flavor and vibe that track had and made it what it is.
Basically did, because that's what I wanted anyway. That's the feeling that I wanted. I wanted a sultry kind of a, sexual, sensuous kind of, you know what I mean? I just wanted that. But she had it in her voice naturally. She had a heck of it. She had a very unique sounding voice. She really does.
Was there any
right song? Huh?
Was there anyone in particular you worked with that was just sort of a real perfectionist and just always wanted to do another take or something like that?
No, because they never did a take till I got through with it. And I was known to keep them in the studio singing longer than they wanted to.
So you were a taskmaster?
Yeah. But I could listen to them till when they were too tired, when they were holding back. I could listen to them very easily. But I had a habit of always wanting to rehearse them in full. I didn't believe in using studio time to rehearse art. Didn't believe it. To me, it's a waste of money. I would take them out of the studio. I mean, not out of the studio, but I would go in the studio before I knew that they knew the song as a rule. I would try to make sure they knew the song before they got it. That makes you have to use studio time waste. We don't want to waste. The only time I didn't do that one time is because he had to come back for it. Maybe I need your love. He can do it on the first. When he first got there, he can do it. He didn't feel it. But that's another thing. But I understood well how to do it. I was good at that. That was my forte because I enjoyed it and I understood it.
The book, I understand, is out on audio now also, so that's pretty nice. Can listen to it as well as read it, and of course, it's been behind you this whole time we've been talking. So I want to encourage people definitely check that out. And the play is coming out next year. Don't know what time, what part of the year yet, but we'll keep an eye out for that. Be sure to get the book at your favorite book sources. And again, it is Come and Get These Memories, a story of Holland-Dozier-Holland. You don't want to miss it. And, especially those of us that are still kind of hanging out at home a lot, what a great way to pass the time is reading that incredible musical history and legacy that you guys have had. And it's so great that you've been able to document that legacy now forever. So congratulations on it. And thank you so much for sharing your stories. It's been so much fun talking to you.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Thank you.
Have a great day.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Truth in Rhythm. A big thank you goes out to our guest as well as to you, the viewer and listener. Also, much gratitude to Pleasure for supplying the show's funky opening and closing music. As a reminder, you can always access the complete list of linked shows by episode at funkandstuff.net. I urge you to support this program and receive the extra benefits along with that by subscribing to the Funk and Stuff channel on YouTube and sharing it with funk, R&B, and jazz lovers, joining Truth and Rhythm's membership program at Patreon, submitting a donation at funkandstuff.net, buying Everything is on the One, the First Guide to Funk book at Amazon, shopping at the Funky Things store for cool merchandise at funkandstuff.net, and linking through funkandstuff.net for all of your Amazon purchases. In addition, if you're an artist or anyone seeking proven, results-oriented professional marketing, PR, writing, or editing consultation or production, check out the media services section at funkandstuff.net. Also, I encourage you to drop me a line at scottg@funkandstuff.net. I love the feedback, suggestions, guest requests, appearance and sponsorship inquiries, and just talking about my favorite subject, groove-based music. For now, and as always, this is Scott Dr. GX Goldfine saying, keep on vibing to the rhythm of the one.